Here is the educational for October 2025. In international news, on October 2nd, 2025, the World Federation of Trade Unions celebrated its 80th anniversary. The PCUSA, through its mass movement, Labor United Educational League, sent delegates. Luell and the PCUSA salute the WFTU for their continuous commitment to class-oriented trade union action against imperialism and capitalism, and fighting for world peace and justice for all workers. In the Middle East, Israel and Palestine have agreed to a peace deal, and Palestinians have begun returning home. Closer to home, tensions are brewing in Venezuela, following a series of U.S. military strikes on vessels in the Caribbean through September and October. The PCUSA sent greetings to the Communist Party of India for their upcoming 100-year anniversary. Today's reading takes place from Chapter 8 of Perils of Fascism by Henry Stevens and A.B. Magil, Terror, Incorporated. On May 22, 1936, the lifeless body of Charles Poole, an employee of the Works Progress Administration, was found lying in a ditch on the outskirts of Detroit. It seemed like another murder story, but before many days had passed, there grew out of that tale of death the ominous outlines of a far-reaching conspiracy whose victim was to be not that pitiful bullet-ridden body found in a ditch, but the rights and liberties of thousands of Americans. The Black Legion, flinging its shadow across the American scene, jolted the unwary and incredulous into a realization that fascism could happen here. The Black Legion may appear in retrospect a bit fantastic and unreal, but no more so than Hitler's rowdies in the Munich beer hall days. There is also a comparison to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, of today. The full truth about this brotherhood of hate and murder will perhaps never be known. Too many higher-ups of the industrial and political world were involved for complete candor. But enough has been revealed to indicate that while this terrorist organization may have been born in more or less spontaneous fashion, it was suckled and reared by the great automobile corporations of Detroit and Michigan. Of course, even the so-called spontaneous birth of such movements is possible only in a society which breeds fascism as filth breeds germs. The two chief weapons of fascism are demagogy and terror. In both, science gives way to amateurdom. Systems and organizations are supplemented by the sporadic and haphazard. The lynch mobs of the South, which spring up suddenly, live briefly, and, just as suddenly, melt away. The vigilante bands, which function during specific labor disputes, are the Black Legion in embryo, but only in embryo. In a period of mounting disintegration and decay, when capitalism is beset by chronic ills it never knew before, these primitive forms of mob violence no longer suffice. Organizations of a more permanent kind, with a more stable membership and a more elaborate program, are required. Hence, the Ku Klux Klan, the Black Legion, the Silver Shirts, and now ICE, Proud Boys, Three Percenters, Oath Keepers, the Pinkertons of today, groups for whom terror is a profession and murder an art. In a few places in the South, the Klan went so far as to adopt the Nazi trick of appearing to be pro-labor. At Columbus, Georgia, where 11,500 mill workers were striking, the KKK participated in a Labor Day parade, and at Griffin, Georgia, it was even instrumental in calling a strike. This will recall the Nazi support of the Berlin tramway workers' strike in the fall of 1932 on the eve of Hitler's accession to power. In the mining town of Uniontown, Pennsylvania, the Klan in 1936 distributed printed cards with a Union label listing the following program. 1. Deport illegal aliens. 2. Drive out communism. 3. Restore constitutional government. 4. Keep church and state separate. 5. Buy American-made products. 6. White supremacy. This program is not so different from what is today espoused by the MAGA movement and the Trump White House, with the exception of wanting to make church as the state. It will be noted that anti-Catholicism here has been relegated to fourth place, and emphasized into the inoffensive keep church and state separate. Number 5 shows that the Klan has taken over Hearst's Buy American campaign. In fact, the entire program, with the exception of points 4 and 6, is identical with the public pronouncements of Hearst and other big business reactionaries. A similar program is being waged today, with Trump claiming he will reindustrialize the United States and make America great again. It is monopoly capital, with its center in Wall Street, that dominates the South today as it dominates every other part of our country. Southern big business and Northern big business are so interlocked that it is difficult to tell where one begins and the other ends. The Liberty League, whose leaderships include many representatives of Southern capital, was the expression of this unity of Northern and Southern reaction. And it was the Liberty League, significantly enough, which became the chief subsidizer of the violently anti-Negro Southern Committee to uphold the Constitution and the Talmadge grassroots convention that it organized. A further manifestation of this reactionary unity was the assistance which Republican senators gave to the Tory Southern Democrats, who in 1938 filibustered to death the Wagner-Van Nuys-Gallatin anti-lynching bill. Today, parallels to the 1930s can be seen in the raids by ICE, the torchlight parades in Charlotte of the Proud Boys, the January 6th Capitol Hill push by MAGA, and the violence perpetuated on peace activists protesting the genocide in Palestine by both police and masked thugs. Terrorism is still a tactic that monopoly capital uses on workers and citizens in order to continue its system. It is only the building of an anti-monopoly coalition of labor, progressives, and workers that can stop the rise of fascism and reaction in the United States.